generous introduction. I must say all my tiredness has gone after meeting many of you wonderful people this morning. So good afternoon, everyone. And thank you, Tom and Numi, for inviting me to come here to speak at this very august gathering of out-of-home professionals and experts. All of you belong to this very dynamic association called the World Out-of-Home Organization. Now, I don't know really why I'm invited here, and if I can call myself an out-of-home expert, although we do have, yes, two good-sized outdoor agencies in India called MOMS and Platinum. But perhaps I was called because, yes, I have been in the A&M industry. One of the things I decided very early in life, and that was reinforced when my daughter joined the business, and we said, we're not going to do anything else other than advertising. Because, I said, one of the tenets of marketing is focus. So if I'm going to also get into construction, and somebody said, why don't you start a school? It'll make much more money than this, that, all kinds of things. We said, no, let's stay focused in advertising. So here I am, 50 years later, speaking to you at this very august out-of-home forum. Over the years, of course, you could say, if I'm not an out-of-home expert, I have developed my own impressions or my own assessment of cross-media interaction. Now, also over the years, I have kind of developed a point of view on what outdoor should do to grow the medium and catch the fancy of more advertisers. And I'd like to share those views with you this afternoon in this very green, beautiful, vibrant city, though I must say it got my nerves when I was traveling this morning from the airport here. It took me 2.5 hours. I should think advertisers in Kuala Lumpur get very high return on their ROI thanks to their traffic. So I provocatively titled my presentation, How to Grow the Outdoor Share to 10% from the current 4%. WARC, W-A-R-C, who I respect, and who puts out estimates of ADEX for the world and for many individual countries, which I believe is the only reliable and credible independent source for such data, estimates that this year in 2022, global ADEX will record a spend of 880 billion USD, establishing a compound annual growth of about 10% over these last 5 years. Not bad, I would say, for a world that is besought with all kinds of crises. Now, I also thought it was significant that during the terrible year 2020 that we saw, global ADEX dipped only marginally by 1.6%, although in India, the carnage was a little bit higher at 20%. And of course, we all know because of its unique characteristics around the world, outdoor faced a bigger cut. But it's interesting that On the rebound in 2021, ADEX grew by a dramatic 31%. 31%. And despite all the bad news that we receive now almost every day, thanks to the Ukraine war and oil prices and whatnot, ADEX is further expected to go up to 8% this year. Now, everybody knows this, but it still jolts me every time I see this chart that digital continues to grow by leaps and bounds and has increased even in the last 5 years from a 33% share to a 56% share. That's incredible, isn't it? One medium dominating the globe in ADEX and having crossed 50%. I've not seen any medium dominate and grow so phenomenally year after year in such a big way. And what's more, digital is now growing at the expense of every other medium. Even the mighty television, at one time the favorite medium of most large and medium-sized brands, and I could argue that today's big global brands are all built or have been built on the back of television campaigns, has now started losing and has lost, in fact, 10 percentage points in share and come down from 39% to 29% over the last 5 years. Print seems to be the worst affected by digital, where the carnage is really dramatic. A drop from 14% share to just 6% now. I may tell you that the story for print in India, though, is a little different, and print is holding on quite well in India with a share of 22%. India and Germany being the last two bastions for print with a share as high as 22%. OH, radio, and cinema all dropped marginally, but in the last 2-3 years have maintained share at a low level of about 4%. Here is an interesting chart I've put together, and I've not seen many do this analysis. You will see in this chart that digital has not just grown as a standalone medium, but digital technology has now penetrated every other medium significantly. In television, we now have connected TV, where delivery is through digital technology, and that contributes 30% to television. In OH, digital, according to Walk, now contributes 27% to overall OH, and so it is in print through its web versions and newsprint titles. In radio, it's a bit lower at 21%, where again, delivery is through digital. Television and digital are now clearly the two big boys of ADEX, and together contribute to a phenomenal 85% of ADEX. If you take a closer look at OH alone, Walk estimates that OH ADEX is now between 30 and 41 billion US dollars in the last 5 years. OH, unfortunately, is yet to reach its pre-COVID high of 41 billion USD. Now, the World Out of Home Organization, on whose platform I stand today, may have its own estimates, which may be a bit higher on what is the out of home ADEX. But for an intermediate comparison, I feel better using an independent source, because in a lighter vein, if I am to estimate or take seriously the estimate of respective media associations, then I must say my total ADEX number just might be double of what I showed to you. Now, after degrowing 21% during COVID in 2020, OH grew by 17% in 2021 and is expected to grow by another 8% in 2022. It is significant that despite the onslaught of digital, OH has held on to its share of 4% in the last 2 years. If you take the last 5 years, you will see from this graph that ADEX clocks almost always a higher growth rate than OH. However, this year, we expect both OH and total ADEX to grow at almost the same rate, that is 8%, which I should think is good news for OH. I've tried to do an analysis here by countries to see which countries have the highest OH share. These tables show that Japan tops the list for the last 3 years with a share that is today almost 3 times that of the global average. There has not been any change in the listing of countries in the last 3 years by share. It's Japan, followed by France, China, Russia, and Germany, all of whom beat the global average. I am personally surprised at seeing UK so much lower down the list, although this year it is expected to reach the global average. I'm surprised because it is my recollection that 20-30 years ago, UK had the highest share of outdoor at about 7%. Perhaps some of our colleagues from these countries could share with us their hypothesis on why the shares in these countries is higher for OH and why the shares from UK, Brazil, USA, India, and Italy are so much lower than the global average. If we are to do this exercise, I believe it could throw up some very useful pointers on what we should be doing to grow out of OH. I will share my perspective on India when I come to the next part of my talk. I've also tried to do an analysis to see whether there are sharp differences in category-wise contribution to global ADEX and OH to see if OH should give special attention to certain categories. I must say that the differences in global ADEX listing and OH listing by category are not very different, except FMCG, or what some of you may call CPG, is under-indexed on OH. In India, the extent of under-indexing is huge because FMCG accounts for 33% of Indian ADEX, whereas it accounts for only 7% to 8% of Indian OH. Another area where OH is under-indexed seems to be technology and electronics, which are indeed growing areas, and therefore special efforts must be made with advertisers in these categories to convince them about OH's power in building brands in these categories. This is not a flattering or a very friendly chart for outdoor. As you know, substantial computing power is now available at very cheap prices, and there are consultancies and companies who do all kinds of sophisticated analysis to satisfy the advertiser's desire to calculate ROI on ad spend. This is very understandable considering advertisers spend $881 billion on it. This chart, put out by Ubiquity and Gain Theory, two respectable names based on 1954 observations, suggests that television delivers the highest ROI at 71%. Online video, radio, and OH just 3 to 4%. But online display is also at a miserable low of 1%. Thankfully, not many advertisers are taking this chart very seriously, also given the fact that online display is growing and so is online video. Perhaps something is wrong with these figures, so I think we can leave them aside. I want to show you some clips of what some of my advertiser friends who use outdoor and have used outdoor consistently have to say. First, let's look at two advertisers from the finance category, a large private sector bank and a large mutual fund, and see what they have to say on use of outdoor.
I've always loved out of home for three specific reasons. One, it's like cinema. It gives the brand real stature, which used to be static, but now thanks to digital outdoor, it's also dynamic, and so it's exactly like film on a large screen outdoors. The second reason is that it's flexible. I can change messaging overnight. I can be really tactical. I can respond to things in the environment. And the third is it can get really hyper-local. For example, around our branches, I can make really local messaging, etc. The one thing I want from the industry is I want monitoring which is reliable, and I want standardization of the metrics.
Let's hear what a large mutual fund has to say, a financial product again.
Hi friends, I'm Jignesh Dauda, Vice President Marketing at IDFC Mutual Funds. In today's world, where we have plethora of options to showcase our products and services via TV, print, digital and outdoor, I personally feel outdoor has a great opportunity to go ahead. Being the oldest medium in the world, outdoor provides you with opportunities of doing a CSR, like giving back to the society by maintaining gardens and circles. Outdoor also has a great opportunity to be there as an impact and always on. Unlike other mediums where you can skip the ads or you can switch the channels or the shelf life is one day, outdoor has great opportunity of providing you a long lasting effect. Thank you.
Now see what the CMO of a very large Indian fruit and milk drink manufacturer in India has to say. Madhur, VP Marketing Pale Agro says, We use outdoor quite extensively during peak season because we find that outdoor delivers all our messages with great impact, and the ROI on outdoor is also good. During season, we spend 20% of our media budget on outdoor. Now see what a large Indian automotive maker has to say.
Hi, this is Vivek Srivath from Tata Motors. Over the last few campaigns, we've increasingly depended on out-of-home media to spread our brand message. It gives us a very key advantage by repeatability and thus enhancing consideration among the target audience. And for a high engagement category like automotive and cars, repeat visibility and the ability to showcase our product over a large landscape provides a very, very important advantage. And for me, the biggest advantage with out-of-home as a media is to provide uniform messaging across the country simultaneously and over a long period of time, which makes it a very, very strong medium. And I believe out-of-home will continue to gain significance and relevance in the future. Thank you.
But let's see
Hi.
what the CMO of a large FMCG maker, the big daddy of ADEX, remember I told you it contributes 33% to ADEX in India, what a representative of that category has to say.
Outdoor is an ideal media choice for rapid awareness generation, could be for a new brand launch or a brand restage. I think when used in combination with other mediums, outdoor tends to not only build reach but also significantly boost brand fame. I think one of the ways to look at improving ROI is to plan for micro clusters, which are over-indexed on your brand volume or your source of growth, rather than look at a city-wise bombardment. I think measurement is still a pain point with no third-party syndicated data source providing reach, frequency, delivery numbers. I think this can potentially unlock investments at scale once integrated into cross-media planning tools. Thank you.
So the big boys do seem to have a little bit of ifs and buts, but not forgetting that they still advocate selective use of outdoor, if I am to interpret what he's saying. So by and large, I conclude after hearing these people, and I did not know what they were going to say. I just chose them at random. Of course, they were all outdoor clients of ours, so I know they use outdoor. And I wanted a first-hand feel of what they feel about outdoor, and you heard them. I would conclude that they are paying glowing tributes for outdoor as an advertising medium. Now then, the question arises in my mind, why is the share of out of home as low as 4% globally? I have some hypothesis based on my India experience. I'm not sure how relevant some of these impediments are to your market. The first, I would say, is widespread diffused ownership in India. A lot of the issues, I believe, of the medium could get solved or resolved if there were a few large corporate players with good financial backing and holding power to deal with agencies, clients, and authorities. The second reason, I think, is lack of widespread advertiser confidence. Of course, there is advertiser confidence, but is that same degree of confidence there in the hundreds of thousands of advertisers we have in India? I don't think so. And this lack of advertiser confidence comes from a few things. One is lack of credible third-party monitoring. India, as you know, is a very large country. And, whilst we have good monitoring in the top cities, but, when it comes to hundreds of thousands of small towns, there's a big question mark on whether the sites actually came up. And there is also the question of lack of third-party credible industry-supported and recognized viewership data, like how we have for print and television, where the industry itself has its own studies supported by its own associations and own representatives who then obviously have to go by those figures. And finally, there is the lack of clear guidelines of local regulatory bodies rendering legality of many sites in question. And therefore, some of the weak-minded, I would say, stay away from this medium. I also think there is inadequate selling efforts by sales teams to both educate and sell to media planning agencies and advertisers, resulting in inadequate awareness of the opportunities that exist in outdoor, unlike the efforts put in by print, TV, and radio. Now, all of this has resulted in a small customer base of advertisers who spend big money on outdoor. This is a telling chart and may provide one of the answers as to why OH is not as large as it should be. These are, of course, figures for India that I am familiar with. To start with, see how few serious advertisers we have who spend more than Indian rupees 10 million on outdoor. Just 550, and we lost 175 or 32% to COVID. So the answer clearly, to my mind, lies in attracting more serious advertisers to outdoor. Such figures for other markets are not available with me, but I'm sure you can do such analysis for your own markets and come to your own conclusions. Just a word of caution, the figures that I have put here for print and radio are not directly comparable because these are all advertisers, whereas for outdoor I've taken only those who spend more than 10 million. But I believe directionally they are correct and make the point very vividly. I now come to the meat of the matter. So what should we do to target a 10% share of ADEX 3 years from now from the current 4%? First, I want to state that I am extremely bullish about the prospects of OH in the coming years. Why, you may ask? Well, because of three things. One, because of technology that is rapidly emerging in OH. Secondly, because the arrival and rapid adoption of digital OH around the world. And C, because of the immense possibility that programmatic will offer to advertisers, which enables optimum use of even non-marquee sites to my mind. And I have put my money where my mouth is and invested in a platform called Lemma. I'm happy to see that they're one of the sponsors of your conference. And I'm sure we will hear more about programmatic platforms in the months and years to come. All of this, I believe, will allow suddenly OH to operate not just in the OH market, which is estimated at 4%, but participate in the larger digital market and in the larger television market, which means 90% of the market is suddenly going to open up to all of you. So whereas earlier you were fishing in a pond that was only 4% of the market, suddenly you have access to 90% of the market. But I believe to take advantage of this, we need to do a few things. We need, one, to develop category-wise knowledge and expertise. What works for motor cars may not work in finance. And so far, I believe the outdoor industry has spent very little time developing or recording such learnings. We need to develop case studies of when outdoor works, how it works, and what works in outdoor. We need to understand why some countries are doing better in outdoor than other countries. We need to understand why some categories are doing better than others. And we need to present these and talk about it in A&M industry fora and A&M journals and websites and in one-to-one meetings at agency and advertiser end. As I see it, I think your association has a very busy and packed agenda for the years to come. Tom, would you agree with me? Good, thank you. Secondly, I think we need to also develop testimonials from prominent marketing people who have used outdoor, are happy with it, and are willing to speak about it, like the few I just showed you, and flood the digital and WhatsApp and Facebook and all those platforms with such, 20 and 30 seconders. Because after all, these are the powerful influencers of today's A&M world. We need to get the media planner at the main media agency, who is generally media agnostic, but who has the ear of the advertisers, be familiar with successful outdoor case studies and opportunities available and the mechanics in terms of rates, impressions, viewership, and whatnot. I dare say today, media planners in the main media agencies are not as familiar because of the presence of outdoor specialist agencies. And of course, we need to build advertiser confidence in outdoor, trying to take care of as many of the impediments that I outlined before. My last point is on the importance of creative in outdoor. Historically, creative reputations of individuals or agencies have never been built on created for outdoor. Advertisers, I have noticed, also spend 95% of their time developing creative for advertising films. And even those who use outdoor do not pay adequate attention to the creative used on outdoor. I do not know if this is a global phenomena, but in India, it's an acute problem that I believe is preventing outdoor from reaching its potential. Take a look at some of these sites that I have seen. Look at this, too much information. I mean, would this outdoor ever work for the advertiser? Again, look at some of these hoardings which I have seen. I don't know what the advertiser was thinking when he was doing this. Or this low brand visibility, there's no focus on the brand name. This poor color contrast. There's inadequate attention to font size and type. And I've not created these hoardings. These are actual photographs of what is there on the roads. On the other hand, look at this. In outdoor, I think, as we all know, less is more. Or even better, see this. What the eye is not used to seeing on the roads and is oversized. Congratulations, Adidas. Again, what the eye is not used to seeing. A simple rule of thumb in my mind should be not more than 5 words, one dominant visual or word, and flat, bold colors. Is it so difficult for us to internalize this? Also, sites differ so widely in terms of site attributes and viewing distances. I would therefore advocate the creation of 3 layouts for each creative, custom designed for sites that have long visibility, sites that have mid visibility, and sites that have close visibility. Because site characteristics differ violently, using one standard execution for all sites would render suboptimal impact. And yet, I have seen no advertiser in India modify his design to suit the site that he's choosing. He creates a design and that same thing goes all over. I am very bullish about the possibilities that outdoor is going to present to advertisers with the rapid development of technology, and want to leave you with this one final clip, which to my mind sums up or gives a clear indication of the possibilities that OAH could open up for the discerning advertiser of tomorrow.
Welcome to the future here at the Detroit airport. You scan your boarding pass, look up at a giant screen, and you see only your flight information, even how many minutes it'll take you to walk to your gate. But only you can see it. It doesn't matter if you're standing right next to one other person or 100. Each person only sees their own information. Mind blown.
It's otherworldly.
And I can't see a thing.
That is insane.
Can you read that for Mommy at the top? What does it say?
Hello, George.
What?
Really? No way, that's so cool. I can't see anything.
Like, I literally don't, how is that possible?
It's possible because of Albert Ing. Inc. started developing his parallel reality technology in 2014.
Above our heads is a motion sensor that detects moving objects as they're walking around. It's non-biometric. It doesn't know anything about each of those objects that are walking around.
Pretty amazing. Congratulations on this.
It seems like a movie set in a slightly scary future where people's eyes identify them to advertisers on big screens. But this technology does not use your eyes or your face. The only thing that identifies you is the shape of your body.
That's remarkable that you're standing right next to me and you can't see that.
So even though the flight boards that exist today have the flight information, it's a list of 100 flights. It's on you to look through that flight information board to find your flight.
Ng says the technology is especially important for foreign travelers who don't always understand what's on the regular information boards. And his plan was to quietly debut this technology in Detroit for the masses, for ordinary travelers, with no facial scans, no apps, no gadgets, just a boarding pass. And his long-term vision?
So as soon as you enter the airport, greets you by name, lets you know where you need to go, which security checkpoint's the easiest for you, arrows lighting your path all the way through the airport towards your gate, reminding you how many minutes you have to walk.
And someday, you could see the technology in hotels, theme parks, and stadiums, all by the time this guy is an adult.
Hello, George.
Andy Rostrem, TRT World, Detroit, Michigan.
So, this is no future gazing. This, as this clip says, is actually on right now at Detroit Airport. So, ladies and gentlemen, the future for all of us is not tomorrow, but I believe it has already arrived. It's only waiting for us to wake up to it. Thank you very much for listening to me.